This is Grapplers RX. I'm Blair. This is Ian. What we're talking about this week is what I consider to be my most dominant position. Okay, it's going to be a really dominant position, primarily because it is the purest example of what I think is the most important principle of dominance from the top, which is keeping your opponent's elbows off the ground as much as possible. Okay? The reason we're going to go to this position, again, is we're going to get really tight control over both elbows, keep them off the ground, and also compromise his posture at the same time. Okay? So basically, we'll show you the setup first, and I'll talk about why I like it a little bit more. So we're starting in standard side control. First thing I'm going to do is switch to a 2-on-1 on the far arm. There's a couple ways I can do this. I can lift this over, just come to the far arm, but I risk getting elbow pushed if as I go. If Ian drives me off, that can be a pretty easy escape for him. So what I like to do instead is I just kind of Spider-Man my hand through his head until it pops off to the other side. Now I've got 2-on-1 on this elbow. My goal is don't let this elbow touch the ground. I keep it really, really tight. I'm going to switch my other hand to his near hip and then pike up my hips and trap the other arm as well. Hips come up, arm comes in, put it on the ground. From here I spin, and at this point I'm going to collect both his elbows and pin them together. I bring them over, and then I drive my knee under his head. Here. Okay? So this is where I want to be. Okay? It should look like Ian's gut shot in Vietnam, and I'm just comforting him before he dies. Okay? I've got both his elbows pinned together, and I'm lifting his head up off the ground. Ian can't roll in either direction if he can't put his elbows down, and his bridge is really compromised if his head is elevated. Okay? I have really, really good control here in a variety of attacks. So once I get to this position, again, I'm keeping my knee underneath Ian's arm. He's bigger than I am, and he's really moving around, and he's really struggling out of here. I may actually bolster this with both hands, under the head and on the far elbow. But usually I can control both arms with one arm. I can grab fabric here, or if it's no-gi, I can just cup the elbow. And my bicep is really cutting in to his tricep. I'm pushing my shoulder forward and getting good control here. If Ian's arms are in this configuration, the most obvious attack for me is I'm just going to grab his wrist, push it down, and then step over the head, squeeze my knees together, make sure I've got good control, lift up, finish my Kimura here. If we get to that same position, but this time, as I was getting there, Ian has hid this hand inside the far bicep. I can still control both arms with one arm, but this time I'm going to reach over, I'm going to pry his elbows up as high as I can. I want to make as much space as I can. I'm going to flip my left leg over and go to a high S mount. It's important when I do this, you can see my knee is not super deep. I'm not past his shoulder, I'm just like right under his head. Compromising his posture, but I've also got the angle I want for the S mount, so I won't have to adjust much once I get the leg over. So here, I pry this up, and I throw the leg over, okay? I kind of heel-toe walk until I get it as tight as possible. When I get to this position, I only want Ian's head and his arms in my triangle. The common mistake for this is people get the shoulders and the chest, it's too much, I don't have as good control. I want just his head and his arms, okay? My knee is still under his head, he still can't bridge very much. Can you try to bridge? Right? It just doesn't really affect me. It doesn't move me around much. I'm going to grab this with two hands, lift it up, put it in the far hip, and then I'll dig this arm out. I'm going to come underneath, hook it. This hand goes to the ground. I step over his head, and I don't bother sitting back. I just finish going forward. It's a small movement.
other way that Ian can defend his hands leads me into collar chokes instead. Sometimes what I find is people have seen this a couple of times. I get to here, and they don't want to layer their hands in the bicep. They know it doesn't help much. They go like almost a gable grip, palm to palm, and they try to hide it behind their head. Okay? Yeah, exactly. I can still control both. This time I'm going to roll him away a little bit. Make sure when you do that, this elbow doesn't touch the ground. Then I go under his head and into the collar. Okay? I want the collar closest to me. I'm going to let go of the elbow, go straight to the knee, shuffle back, put my knee along his neck, bridge up nice and high, get a modified bow and arrow choke. So last thing, guys, sometimes you just can't get any of that. The person's super strong, they're really, really tight. I've got the dominant control, but all my submission options feel like they're not viable. I'm gonna get two hands underneath his elbows again. I'm gonna walk my foot close to his back. I step over, and I'm just gonna pull him on top for a classic back take into classic back control. Grab your seatbelt right away. So there you go, guys, a bunch of options from what I consider to be my most dominant position. Keep the questions coming, we love to get them. Let us know if there's something else we can cover for you, and we'll see you next week.